what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by A Plain Truth, Anthony, PMars, Nummy, Mark, Jose, Chocolate Sayin, and Arwin. How are you all doing?
Wonderful.
Buenos dias.
Hello.
According to Wikipedia, you need a 26-meter dish antenna to receive the bounced radio signals from the surface of the moon. So your friend had a 26-meter receiving dish. Is that what you're claiming? Is that what you're claiming, PMars?
Could you present my screen when he's finished this point? I want to address the ionosphere with regards to the propagation of radio waves.
Well, I'm just pointing out here that according to Wikipedia, in order to receive the return signal of a radio signal that is allegedly bounced off of the moon, you need a 26-meter dish antenna. Not something that's available to the average ham radio operator, I would imagine.
So PMars thinks that bouncing a signal off the moon proves that the moon is physical. However,
it's more likely.
However, between us and the moon, there is something called the ionosphere, which we already know bounces waves off. So my question is it not more likely you're receiving the wave from the ionosphere that you think is pointing at the moon, but actually it's coming straight back off from just a few hundred feet above you, and it's not going to the moon at all? Because that isn't. And my second point is, doesn't this therefore negate the argument that bouncing a signal off the moon proves that it's physical, when the ionosphere is not actually a physical thing? It's dust, for want of a better word.
That was my point.
To answer Nummy Num's dishonest, thing here, I linked an article on how to use amateur radio to get moon bounce. So.
Yeah, I like to respond to Riley's point, and that is
Hold on, Arwin, hold on. So can you present that, P? Can we have a look at that?
Right.
I just linked it. I mean,
No, let's explain it, please. Get it on screen. Let's see it.
I'm not a radio wave expert. I don't know.
So you're going to link a link and then walk away from it, right?
What do you mean? I can't explain. I can't explain how ham radio works.
You are a bluffer. You said that Nummy Num was lazy. You're the one that's being lazy.
How am I being lazy?
Because
you won't present.
What do you
won't
mean?
go and do a video of you.
I don't know the answers to everything.
Yeah,
well, then you present some stuff that you don't. That you
He said you can't use an amateur radio to bounce a radio wave off the moon. But I found an article that explains how to do it.
Okay, so can you show it then?
I linked it.
Right, I want you to open it and show it and talk us through it.
Why? I don't want to do that.
Because you're using it as a
You're
citation.
lazy. You're a bluffer.
don't call us that.
You're using it as a citation to prove a point.
Right. Because
so
it
prove your
proves that
point.
Nummy Num is incorrect. Because
How did he prove that?
Right, so I'll just link a
you said you can't use amateur radio to get moon bounce, but you can.
I said that according to Wikipedia, you need a 26.
Yeah.
Well, I said, am I a liar to say that Wikipedia claims that you need a 26-meter antenna?
You're a liar because you're trying to make it like you can't bounce radio off the moon.
All right, this is what we'll do instead then. If P. Mars is not prepared to present his evidence the way that he should do when he's citing a reference, let Nummy prove on the Wikipedia point that you need a 26-meter mirror to bounce.
Wikipedia isn't even a very good reference.
To discredit your... Yeah, but you're not citing any evidence. You just put a link and then you're not prepared to address it.
I told you guys, I don't know
Right. So, Nummy,
how ham radio works.
Share your screen, Nummy, and then we'll just close this off by proving that you didn't have a 26 meter.
I'm sharing it right now. So you can
Right,
just...
so
You guys aren't proving anything.
No,
Well,
but you're using
I'm
the
not a
citation
layman.
and not doing
You
it.
guys are laymen. You don't know anything about this stuff. Neither do
Well,
I.
you're less than a layman because you don't even
So-
understand your own argument.
It's an established fact. We can bounce radar off the moon. Like,
You're a
this is
lazy man.
nonsense.
A lazy man. Lazy man.
Why am I lazy? You just went to Wikipedia. I
You're
found an
lazy
article that
because you
shows
didn't
you're
even
wrong.
read the article that you're citing. You're citing and posting an article that you don't even know what it says.
How can I read? How can I read an article like? I'm on a panel right now. Okay.
Right.
How can I read an article
It's in
while
English.
I'm on a
I'm reading
panel?
it right now.
You
You're being
open it.
lazy.
You open it, you take us through it, and you say the bit that supports your point.
Or you read it
But I
ahead of
haven't
time
read
and
it.
you're able to talk us through it because you know what you've read. You didn't even read it. It's absolutely insane that you don't understand how ridiculous this is right now.
Why is
This is
this
insane.
ridiculous?
Because why wouldn't you read something before you link it in public? I don't understand that.
Well,
Because it's an
You don't even
I
know what
don't
it
know-
says. It
I
could
don't know it.
completely disregard your whole point, and you just link it. You don't even read it. How does that make any sense?
fact that you can bounce moon radio signals off the moon
we
because
can bounce radar off. I'm just trying to establish we can bounce radar off the moon, which we can.
So you say, and I'm asking, how do you know that it's hitting the moon?
Because NASA says so.
We know that we bounce
But
radio waves off
You
the
guys
ionosphere.
haven't made any good arguments that we can't bounce radar off the moon.
I'm not saying that we can't. I'm asking you how you know it's hitting the moon.
you're the one making the
I
assertion.
explained that.
Right, and I've said that you need a hugely powerful power wave to be able to do that.
Right.
And
And
you
I'm not. Look, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to argue those points because I'm not a ham radio expert, or I don't know. how radio
But you
works.
made the points. You don't know how to argue them, but you assert them.
Well, it's because it's a fact. Yeah, it's a. You know what a fact is? You can look up.
Yeah, but
Are
Are you
globe
guys
is
able to
also a
use
fact
Google to
too,
look
isn't
up facts about how like stuff works?
it?
No.
Isn't the globe a fact too?
Yeah, it is a fact.
Oh, so why are we even having a debate if we're supposed to all
is a
just
good,
accept what we're told? Why are we even having a debate?
I think it's because of propaganda.
Yeah, your propaganda.
So yeah.
Yeah, globe propaganda.
Because
We're
we're
having a debate because propaganda has made you guys incredibly ignorant about.
All right, but we're ignorant because we're questioning the propaganda. But you come on here and you say,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's a fact because somebody told us it's a fact," and that's not propaganda.
That's not. That's
Are
not.
you you slightly out of your mind?
That's not really.
I think he's
fair.
more just retarded. I think that's the problem.
I mean,
really
I mean,
troll.
seriously, I'm not trying to disrespect you in any way, man. But you're kind of making yourself sound a little silly.
I don't think so. But
Yeah. Well,
I mean, obviously you don't.
You. I don't respect your intellect. I think you're a complete idiot, and you're just here to troll.
Yeah, he's here to troll.
No respect for you, P. Mars. I don't just give respect out like candy. You gotta do something.
great. Well, you make claims without citing sources. At least I linked an article. So
You know, what claim did I make without citing a source?
Well, I've actually just
Hang on a
read
minute.
the
You made a
article.
claim
I
about
just
a
read
law.
the art. Can I please explain? I just
Yeah.
read like a part of this article, and you can't actually bounce a signal off the moon surface because it's physical. What they explain is there is supposed to be some kind of radio dish there that is bouncing signals back. So yeah, you can't bounce a signal off the moon. They're saying that's not even what it is. You're basically bouncing a signal, according to this article, off
Right.
a radio relay.
Right,
So-
Arwin, can you present your screen then, and let's use P. Mars's citation against him for basically his claim was that we're bouncing signals off the moon. Let Arwin present how it's not actually the moon are bouncing it off; they're bouncing it off somewhere else.
Well, I just want to say one thing. That was the kind of point I was trying to make earlier, which is that radio signals are going to be subject to diffuse reflections, right? That's why they, in the measurement of the moon distance,
Hold on.
they claim to use a laser, because without having a collimated beam, obviously the reflections are going to be far too diffuse to give a return signal that you can be sure of its origin. So yeah, they're claiming that they're claiming they have an antenna on the moon, right? That's relaying.
Yeah, that's what the article says.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
ridiculous.
but didn't they claim to bounce something off the moon before we even went to the moon?
Yeah, in the early 60s.
Yes,
What-
Project Diana.
They
They bounced radio waves off
Right.
the moon before they
No,
went there.
laser, not radio.
No radio waves, not me. Good lord.
All right, so if they were
Do
doing
your
that
research,
before we
Nami.
went to the
Good
moon,
God.
if we were doing that before we went to the moon,
You're
and
so
then we
brain
went to the
dead.
moon and put something on the moon so that it could reflect that signal, how do we know that that's even real?
Well, what Arwen said is
Point.
incorrect.
That's the whole point, though, isn't it? We're trusting a story.
Yeah. What was the point of even going to the moon and putting something that you could reflect off of if we already did that before
But
we
we could
went to the
already
moon?
do it before. That's the whole. Yeah, that is the point.
I don't get that.
And I think the retro reflectors on the moon point is the point that proves that you can't bounce a signal off the moon, because if you could bounce a signal off the moon, what would be the point of the retro reflectors?
I mean, you
Exactly.
guys
That would be something
don't know what you're
extra that
talking
they
about.
would
So why don't you just give your opinion?
that would just have to
Don't
be
cite
something
any sources or
extra.
anything. Let's just
What do you
get-
mean, like you?
What do you feel? What do you emotionally feel? How emotional are you about bouncing radar off the moon?
Extremely
Well,
Does it
emotional.
make you- does it make
It
you
is
angry?
real. It is mysterious that there is something out there that is supposedly bouncing back these signals. But I really do not trust any of this. I would have to do it myself.
I'm
Why
going
are
to
you so
say at
mad?
least.
How are you? It's
P Mars, I've heard you come on here before and say you're like a big conspiracy theorist. You question all the narratives of the official narratives and stuff. But then at the same time, you come on here and then you say, "Oh no, but I believe everything. It's all fact. Everything NASA says, the government says, everything they tell me, it's great. It's fact."
Pete Mars just looked into 9/11 a lot. That's
I
different.
never.
Okay, and
I didn't say
I
like.
mean, I don't understand.
but yeah, we can be skeptical of 9/11, but we can't be skeptical of NASA, right?
You can't be skeptical.
I
Of
mean,
9/11.
I'm skeptical of 9/11. I was in Manhattan on 9/11. So I'm very skeptical of that whole story. I know
But
that
it's
whole
an
story is
established
bullshit.
fact. But the
We never
9/11
saw it on
report
TV, man.
is an established fact.
We saw
Yeah.
planes on TV.
That's not
Argument
an
from
established
authority.
fact.
Argument from authority. Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
there's a report from NIST on it. It's about like 300 million pages long. Describes everything that happened, right?
You guys are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculously
I mean,
bent
you're saying
finding the truth.
no, you're
Ridiculous.
not.
You have to be ridiculously skeptical in order to figure anything out in this world of lies.
But P Mars, I
You
mean,
probably don't even know who's behind the New World Order.
but that goes back to my question. You say we're ridiculous because we're questioning certain things.
No, I didn't
But
say
then
that. You're putting words in my mouth. Like that's the thing. The whole thing you just said, you're putting words in my mouth. Like I think.
I've heard you come on here before. You
Great.
claim to
I
be
think
this
it's
giant
good to question
conspiracy
things.
theorist.
I think
Yes.
flat Earth is a
Okay.
good
So
thing.
then why are we idiots for questioning things?
You're not idiots for questioning things. You're idiots for questioning things, getting answers, and then not accepting the answers.
Okay.
So we're not supposed to accept the answers that we're questioning? Are you out of your mind?
I mean, you ask a ton of questions and people give you the answers, and then you act like you still have a
You say
question. So like
you say
that's where
appeal
the
to
stupid part
authority?
comes in. Once you get the answer, you should stop like with your questioning. You know what I mean?
Oh,
All right, P. So when you come to the official answer that they give you, the official narrative for 9/11, you can get that just from Wikipediaing it, right? You can just type that into Wiki and get the answer. You accept that because once you find the answer, you just stop looking, right?
No, but you
No,
denying
but
evidence.
what do you
is
mean, no,
not-
but?
is
That's what you've
stupid.
just
That's
asserted.
what
I
you
was
guys
just
do.
repeating back to you for clarity what you just said. What do you mean, no, but?
You guys ask questions, you get the evidence, you get the answers, and then you just deny everything everyone tries to do to help you.
Right, so you get the evidence for 9/11, you go to Wikipedia, you look up the official story, and then you just accept it, right, P? Silence.
Um,
I mean,
that was a question.
you can't really compare 9/11 to things that like.
Nathan, ask it again.
I can't do an experiment, right, about 9/11, but you guys can do experiments to
ask him again.
Of course, you can do it.
Let's not reduce to the scientific
To
method.
determine whether the Earth is flat or a sphere, you can do experiments. You can't do anything like that with 9/11. So it's
you
like
can.
not a
Yeah,
fair,
you
it's a
can.
false equivalency.
No, that's not. You can do the experiment. You can test if jet fuel can actually burn through steel.
No,
you
it's
can
all good,
test
Darwin. It's all good. So
if
in
a
that
fire
case,
can actually bring down a whole building, like from crashing into itself. You can test all of that, and it has been tested.
but
No.
by your standards,
let's
P,
put the
we
ham
can't test the
radio-
sun though.
You'd have to
can't test the
you'd have
sun,
to
P,
recreate
so
the World Trade Centers.
we
Like,
can't
it's
test
not-
the
it's
sun,
not
No, you
so
can create
we
a
just have to
model of
accept
it,
that
and it
narrative,
has
do
been
we?
done.
By your standards, we just have to accept the narrative for the sun. We can't test that, P. So by your
And
standards,
you can also use architectural models of buildings.
No, I'm saying you can do experiments to just determine the shape of the Earth that you guys
Okay,
don't
tell me
do.
the experiment about. Let's hear your experiment to determine
Excellent.
the shape. of the Earth. Experiment, please. Describe
like
the experiment.
Bedford level.
Okay, describe.
You guys know what the Bedford level is.
Yeah, we
Okay,
do.
let's hear your version of how that proves unequivocally that the Earth is round.
Why?
Well, because you've
You
made
just said
this
there's
claim that the
experiments.
Bedford level is an experiment that proves that the Earth is round. So I would like to.
Well, there's the history, you know, with
Yeah, you're very lazy.
it's all right. We can walk him
Not-
through it. So the first thing with an experiment, which basically is an expression of a hypothesis, but before you get to the hypothesis, you need to have an observed phenomena. So what are you observing in the Bedford level, P? Or what are we observing?
I'm not a scientist.
That's okay. We're walking you through it. I'm not in any way condescending to you. I'm literally just taking you through the steps of the scientific method. Step 1,
Look,
observe a phenomena. So what's the phenomena we're observing?
School children in America used to do the Bedford level experiment to prove the shape
Really?
of the
Have you
Earth.
got any evidence for that?
That's okay. I'll
I
write this
don't have
down.
any
Hold on.
evidence
School
for that.
children doing experiment. Is that the observed phenomena, Pete?
School children used to do the Bedford level experiment in America to prove that the Earth.
Have you got
Is
any
it
evidence for
weird?
that?
Yeah,
Okay.
you said that already.
Hi, Dan. So what were they observing, P? What specifically were they observing? What was the
I don't-
phenomena?
The curve. I don't know. It's something about like what you take mirrors and here. A series of observations carried out along a 6-mile length of the old Bedford River on the Bedford level, United Kingdom, to measure the curvature of the Earth. Samuel Robotham versus Alfred Wallace, right? And Alfred Wallace won the bet.
Did you
so-
Google it, Pete?
Yeah.
Are you
okay.
cheating and you
That's
Google
all
it?
right. That's not cheating. That's absolutely fine. So unfortunately, though, that's not a phenomena. So if you're saying curve, that's a concrete noun, P. A phenomena would be something happening.
Like a phenomenon would be PMARS coming on Nathan's show and obfuscating points. That's a phenomenon.
It says Alfred Wallace found a curvature consistent with the spherical Earth using the Bedford level experiment. Why don't flat earthers do the Bedford level experiment?
Well, because as we're just trying to establish with you, P, when we try and
you
formulate it into a scientific hypothesis, we can't get to the hypothesis because so far we have no phenomena to observe. We've just got a concrete noun, an assumed, begging the question fallacy, an assumed curve to the Earth's surface, which you claim it proves. Well,
No,
when we
it's-
take
it's
it through
not
the
begging the
method,
question.
we don't even get to a phenomena. We don't even literally get to
measured it,
step
Nathan,
1
it's
before
not
it
begging the
fails
question.
as a
It's
scientific
observation.
proof.
It's an observation. It's an experiment.
Yes, and in
It's
science you need to
observe
observe
the curve.
phenomena. That's why I said, what's your observed phenomena? And you've said curve. Well, that's not a phenomena. If it exists, it doesn't. It's a presupposition. But that aside,
It's not
if
a
you are to
presupposition. The
presuppose
Bedford
you have
level
curve,
measures the
that's not a
curve.
phenomena.
You measure the curve at the Bedford level experiment. I don't understand the problem.
Right, you don't seem to be listening. So there's a method for establishing cause and effect relationships. That's science.
Nathan, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I do. And that scientific method has in absolutely no way been adhered to here. So what we're trying to do is take you through the steps that would need to be adhered to by asking leading questions. For example, what's the observed phenomena? And you just keep giving me the same concrete noun over and over again.
What does John Stange do for a living? Is he a scientist?
No idea. I've never asked.
Why are you just like repeating and parroting his?
It's not his.
Because
Why do you
that's the
keep
scientific
asserting that
method.
it's John's? It's not. It's the
Cite
scientific
a primary
method.
source, Nathan.
It's the scientific
Well, like you did
method.
before, you mean?
You don't know what you're talking about. You're not a scientist, Nathan.
Don't need to be a scientist to apply the scientific method. It's very straightforward. Step 1, observe a phenomena. That's it. It doesn't change. It doesn't matter who told me. It is the scientific method. You don't have to
You
like
don't know the scientific method, Nathan. You're a grocer. Stop acting like a scientist.
I'm not a scientist, and I'm not claiming to be, but I am correct in my assertion that step 1 in the scientific method is to observe a phenomena, Pete. I'm sorry if you don't like
but
it.
you don't
That's
understand what you're talking about because
you don't have to like
using
this,
scientific
Pete.
terms that you don't
You
understand.
can ad hom me and say I don't understand all you like, but you don't have to like this. Step 1, observe
But you can
phenomena.
use science, but ignorant people, like if you're going to be ignorant, like what's the point?
Well, you're just dodging the questions that are being.
Okay.
I'm not dodging any questions. I'm admitting that I don't know.
So yeah,
things.
I'll just round this out for Pete. Yeah, the Bedford level is in absolutely no way, shape, or form a scientific proof of anything.
Yep.
So sorry to any flat earthers who think the Bedford level proves the earth is flat. Also, proof of nothing. Same applies. Sorry, double-edged sword in that respect.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up something interesting based on what Anthony was saying about the ionosphere, which is that I was thinking yesterday, is there really evidence of an ionosphere? Or is that just something else that we've been taught to believe as well? Like it occurred to me that, is there an ionosphere? Do we know that? Is that
I mean, you don't believe in dinosaur bones, so.
I'm not talking. You're very boring and annoying.
You mean like, is there evidence of all the layers of the atmosphere the same way that there's evidence for all the layers of the Earth?
Well, I'm talking about like an ionized layer of gas that's supposedly at some layer of the atmosphere that can be used to say bounce signals from. Like, is there evidence that there is an ionic layer, like a layer of ionized gas at some particular altitude?
Well, Chris Monk does entertain that there is a level at a certain height where there is plasma. So
Yeah.
there could be.
Yeah, I'm not saying there isn't. I'm certainly very willing to entertain the idea. I'm just saying that it just occurred to me that I don't know what the evidence, if there's actually, scientific proof that there is such a thing as an ionosphere, or if that's just another thing that we
And
might.
if that's true.
Just
And
another
if that's true, what Riley says is right. Like, we don't know if they're bouncing it off that or if it's off the moon or whatever. We don't know.
Yeah. I just wonder what is what could we, how could we establish for ourselves that an ionosphere exists?
Oh, look it up on Google. And then stop looking once you found your answer.
Yeah.
So Wikipedia.
It's an established fact. It's a well-established fact.
Well,
I think I'm going to do just that. I'm just going to go and wiki it, Nami, and when I get to the answer, that's the end of my quest, basically.
Just stop. Turn the computer off.
Carry on with life.
So it's supposed to be from,
Oh man.
the ionosphere is supposed to be between 37 miles and 620 miles altitude. So it's quite a thick sphere. So a region that includes parts that the thermosphere and parts of the mesosphere and exosphere. The ionosphere is ionized by solar radiation, plays an important role in atmospheric electricity, and forms the inner edge of the magnetosphere. Okay, so we do know that there's atmospheric electricity. That much we can be quite sure of because of lightning.
I can admit that globe arguments are weak, but you guys seem really desperate for the moon to not be a physical thing. Because if the moon was physical,
That's not true.
No.
you'd have to explain
That's
why
not
it's
true.
not
It may very well be
You don't know
physical.
what the moon is.
I don't care if it's physical
Right,
or
you're
not.
really
Pete.
desperate to not know anything about the moon because
I'm
if
not
it's
desperate
physical,
to not know.
which
We just
know,
don't know.
since-
We just don't know,
Pretty
P.
You're just desperate to not know.
We're desperate to not.
What does that? What does that mean?
It means you're
We're
extremely
to
desperate
not know.
to have the moon not be physical because
That's
if the
not
moon is
true.
physical,
It might be
you would have to
physical, I don't
explain
care.
why the moon isn't crashing into the earth. So you're really desperate.
No, we can simply argue that I get away with buoyancy. It sits in a layer that it's equal. It's in its state of equilibrium.
Nah, I wouldn't say that, but
Well, no, I know you wouldn't say that, but that is one explanation, and we wouldn't have to try and explain it anyway. Whether it's physical or not is irrelevant.
Would it make you
Yeah,
feel all
you
warm
don't
and
have to do
fuzzy
anything.
if we
I
gave you
couldn't care
just...
less what the moon is. You know, it's not going to change. We're not going to find curve because the moon is physical or not.
Right, but
Almost
would it make
certainly
you
not.
feel
I
better if we
I
gave
don't
you
ever
a...
wake up like, oh my god, is the moon gonna crash into us today?
If we gave you a just
I
so
don't-
story
I don't
for
worry
why
about
it's not
that.
coming to Earth, P, would that make you feel a bit better? If we just made a
Have you
story up?
read Just So stories?
Yeah, we just made one up about why it's levitating above the flat plane. Would that make you feel happier?
I tell you what, let's get Arwin to make one up. He disagrees with everything I say, so why don't you make one up and then just we'll appease P's.
well, I don't disagree with everything. Just the things you're wrong with.
Well, in your opinion.
Hold on. Don't take that as your opportunity for a left hook. Come on.
Yeah, I
Arwin.
will.
What I'm saying is, let's give
Why
it
is, hold on. Why is the moon not crashing to Earth, Arwin?
Well, because a gravitational pull does not apply.
Arwin, you're banned for saying that word.
What? I said gravitational pull does not apply.
You can't talk about gravity.
There
'cause
you
confuse
go.
people
What's
to
wrong with that,
put your
P?
allegiance to it.
Gravitational pull doesn't apply to the moon. What's your problem?
Gravitational pull doesn't apply to the Earth either.
No, exactly. It doesn't apply to anything because it doesn't exist. There's just a
Right,
downward acceleration
Yeah,
force.
you guys
And
have to
whatever
deny
the moon,
gravity.
whatever the moon is, whether it is completely intangible and just an optical phenomena, or whether it is a physical object somehow and suspended in some unknown way, which some people suggest it might be magnetically levitating somehow.
There you go,
It's
P.
definitely not
Magnetically
a
levitating. What's your
planetoid
problem?
in orbit of the Earth.
Gravity
See, that
isn't
makes it
established
physical
fact.
too.
No,
There you
it's
go.
not.
What's your double
It is.
double whammy for P? So it's physical, magnetic. It's being magnetically reflected upwards. What more do you want, man? That's a brilliant just so story.
Yeah.
It's got rockets.
But it's not an established fact.
Gravity is.
No,
And what's
Yeah,
the
it
evidence
is.
for gravity?
no downward acceleration force
Cavendish.
is.
Cavendish. And you
Yeah.
believe Cavendish to be a true thing?
Absolutely.
It doesn't
Even though
prove.
it can't be verified by anybody.
Even if that
Yeah.
experiment works,
Can-
it does
can
not
you,
does not establish the
story
fact
for that
of gravity.
I've
Well,
heard,
even
I've
if
heard flat earthers say that no one can replicate the Cavendish experiment, but then I've seen people
even if you
replicate
can,
it.
it does not
So
establish gravity.
why do flat earthers lie about facts like that?
So you think that Cavendish...
Okay, Pete, yesterday you and I had a continuing conversation where you admitted you don't even know the elements of the Cavendish experiment. You don't know how large the orbs were. You don't know how far they were apart from each other. It's insane that you bring up stuff that you cannot even participate in. You just puke stuff out, man. Stop
Mikey.
bringing up stuff that you cannot validate. What about this? What about this? Well, when then we say to you, well, what do you mean by that? Well, I don't know, because I mean, it's insane, dude. This is insane.
No, it's not.
It's called trolling. It's not
No
really.
one
little
is.
bit.
No, okay, look. You know what's
little bit,
insane
dude.
is that people tell me that they can't replicate the Cavendish experiment, and then I find out they can replicate the Cavendish experiment. So why are the flat earthers lying about that?
Can you show
That's
me
what I
any
would like to know.
that's been replicated credibly?
Why don't you look for yourself? I
You're the
don't
one
want to
making
show
the
you
claim.
everything.
Why don't you
So who
tell?
are you talking about? You say flat earthers. Who?
Fact
Who?
check me. Fact check what I say then.
Yeah, but P-Mars, how
Provide
does that?
your evidence, and we will.
I want
I
to.
did. My evidence is a Cavendish. Fact check me.
How does the Cavendish experiment establish gravity as a fact?
Because it shows that mass attracts mass, right?
No, not necessarily. You have to eliminate all the other possibilities.
Right, and people have done that.
Have they? How have they?
Yes.
How did they do that?
Did they also eliminate the spin of the Earth?
You eliminate variables like wind and
Yeah. Did
magnetism.
they eliminate the spin of the Earth? Did they suspend that while they were doing the experiment? Because you'd have to do that.
No, you wouldn't.
How could you possibly know that you've eliminated all of the possible variables?
How did they cool down the molten magma core of the center of the Earth? Did they put like a bucket of cold water or something, and then they light it up again? How did they do that?
What's your independent variable with the, like, if we break it down into a scientific hypothesis, it's not going to present you with a conclusion.
What are you talking about? We're not scientists. We can't do science.
Yeah, shouldn't we have an observable phenomenon before we get to the variables?
Yes, correct.
So, Pete, what's your observable phenomenon for the Cavendish experiment?
I'm not a scientist. I observe.
Then why do you bring stuff up? You bring stuff up that you can't even participate in, man.
Neither can any of you. You guys are
just
constantly
regurgitating religious
Hold on, Arwen.
consensus.
You guys are all bringing up stuff that you guys don't know what you're talking about. I'm
Yeah,
not
we
the only
do.
one doing
We
that.
actually do. You don't.
No, all of you guys are.
Yeah, we do.
You guys
and
aren't.
we
No, you're not.
explain it,
Arwen, you're
and
the
you
worst.
don't. You don't
Arwen,
even
you
pretend
just
to
make up
know.
stuff out of your imagination.
No, we know what the scientific method.
You guys make stuff up out of your imagination. Yeah, I at least go and find a source. You guys use your imagination. There's a
I know
difference.
what the scientific method is, and we can.
You guys are imaginary scientists,
Hold on.
imaginary
There you go.
philosophers.
PPP. Let me just ask you a question, P.
That I brought up to Pete
Sorry,
yesterday.
bear with me.
This is all fake.
Bear with me a second.
Right,
Sorry,
here we go.
Everything is fake.
Bear with
You
me,
ready,
P. I just
Pete?
want to ask you another question. It's related to something you
My
said.
observable phenomenon is that when I spin around, centrifugal force pushes me away from the center of the spin. My deduction is then, if we are on a spinning orb, I will feel centrifugal force because my observed phenomenon is on something like a merry-go-round, I experience centrifugal force. Therefore, on a larger scale spin, I will experience centrifugal force. That's my observed phenomenon. That's my logical deduction. And since I don't experience centrifugal force, right now, we're not spinning.
Sounds like science.
Right.
Okay, so why don't you come back to what you did yesterday when we had our conversation after the show was over?
What? I don't know.
Yeah, you basically said it would be so big and so slow that we wouldn't feel it. And I said,
the Earth spins really slow, right?
No.
Yeah, prove it.
1,000 miles an
Prove it.
hour.
Give me
You're having
an
a laugh,
example of
right?
that.
1,000 miles an hour. Look up rim speed or edge velocity. So just because they say that it's turning in terms of the amount of time the full ball makes one spin doesn't change the fact that the edge velocity is phenomenally fast. Going faster than the speed of the sound. It's ridiculously quick.
Nathan, it spins slow.
No, it
spins
doesn't.
really slow.
No, it doesn't. So if you have the hands of a clock, right, and the hands of the clock only extend out a few inches, then yeah, those hands aren't going very fast. Whereas you extend those same exact hands moving at the exact same turn rate to thousands and thousands of miles out, suddenly the edge velocity is exponentially increased. So the speed that the edge of the Earth is travelling is, and you should all know, 1,000 miles an hour. Do you not know that, P?
Oh.
Say again?
It's really slow.
1,000 miles an hour slow? What kind of
Yes.
cognitive dissonance is this?
It's meaningless. Slow and
Super
fast.
slow. You wouldn't even
Slow
feel
and
that.
fast are
It's so
just
slow.
relative terms.
1,000
They're
miles
just
an hour isn't slow, P. Have you ever done 200
is.
miles an hour?
It's slow, dude.
Sorry, have you ever
Can you
been
imagine
200
being on a
miles an
moving
hour,
walkway
P?
that's going 1,000 miles an hour?
Go 1,000
Slow.
miles an hour, he thinks it's slow. It's just nuts.
Slow, dude.
No, it isn't.
It is.
Insanely fast.
completely meaningless conversation because slow and fast are just relative terms. You have to compare it to something else to say it's slow. It's not, it's slow compared to something that's going 10,000 miles an hour. It's fast compared to walking speed. It's not to say it's slow or fast and just throw that out there.
Okay, it's so slow that you wouldn't feel it. I'll say that.
Says you.
Yeah.
And you have nothing to
And everyone.
establish or substantiate this. All you
Well,
have
everyone
is
agrees. More people agree with me, so I must be doing something right.
So, yeah, argument from popularity. Good.
It is
Consensus
a
donkey.
logical fallacy, but
Yes, it is a logic. Yeah.
You're a consensus donkey.
Argument ad populum.
Yes.
I'm not just making stuff up. You know, I'm not
No,
using
you argue
my
from authority.
imagination
You
like
argue
guys.
you argue from authority, and you argue from consensus and popularity.
You argue from ignorance.
Well, no, I
You
acknowledge.
argue from ignorance, around nummy.
I acknowledge ignorance
Bullshit.
where I am ignorant.
Bullshit. You argue from ignorance.
How have I argued from ignorance? I'm not arguing. I'm not asserting points the way that you are. I'm saying you can't prove that. That's not an argument.
I know I can't prove. I'm not trying to prove anything. I can.
You don't even know what. You don't even.
Please
understand
kick
how-
this troll. He's obviously not here for a constructive conversation. He's just trolling us, just wasting all of our time here. He admitted that he doesn't actually know anything. He doesn't have anything to bring to the table but a bunch of links and obfuscation. So can we please move on?
No, it is an
I
interesting.
agree.
I mean, we're able. It's just a.
Yeah. Let's move on. Let's give our evidence for the flat Earth.
We're probing baller psychology here.
Let's give our evidence for the flat Earth. All right.
So there's a total lack of curvature
Who wants to go
anywhere,
first?
ever.
Okay.
There you go.
Lack of curvature.
Yeah.
No sense of motion, no sense of centrifugal spin. How about that one? Here you go.
No sense of motion. Any good evidence? Anyone?
What about rivers that go uphill? They're
Yeah.
supposed to go down, up and downhill.
That's nonsense. So yeah, P, total lack of any curvature observed anywhere ever.
I can see it out my window.
Let's have a look.
Right.
Excellent. Let's have a look.
No, I don't think I can move my camera. You won't be able to see it.
Do you really think you can see curve out your window?
It just looks. I mean, it looks like some.
Just stop. Okay, seriously, listen to what he just said. I can see it out my window.
Yeah, I can.
Think
It
about
looks
what
like Stanley's picture.
think about what that means. You have to have every single aspect of distance and curve out your window. And I mean, just the variables that have to exist out your window. We all know
Dude.
right now they don't exist.
Have you seen Soundly's picture?
Oh,
of the
yeah.
curve?
Oh,
Because when I
God.
look out my window, that's what I see. It looks like
It lives in the top of a 50,000 feet hill.
Did he just say soundly? Come on.
Yeah, have you seen Soundly's picture?
Come
of the curve?
on.
When I look out my window, it looks exactly
Soundly.
like that. I can see the curve. Like,
I wonder if Soundly gets royalties. Whatever.
Fluoridated water, P. Mars.
I
think
got a
you're-
present from
you're
Shanta
degrading.
because
this is
the
actually non-fluoridated
Santa
water.
Claus.
I'm on that fluoride tip.
You're on fluoride.
No, I get water that doesn't have
fluoride.
fluoride.
Do you actually take iodine?
No, I don't take iodine. I take supplements. So I try to be. I know that the Illuminati are using food and they're poisoning our water and food and all that. I know they're doing that. So.
But they're not.
I would be taking iodine because you're very slow. You don't actually know anything. You seem extremely unfocused. You're just regurgitating a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for P Mars. Everyone's attacking him.
Well,
But he's kind
Story
of
of my
doing it
life.
to himself, though.
I don't join
honestly.
groups because when you join a group like Flat Earth, you get used.
Are you having a nervous breakdown, bro?
No, it's just like whenever there's two groups and both groups want you to join the group, you should turn and run the other way because you're gonna get used by both of them.
Really?
Never join groups. Joining groups is dumb.
Joining groups is
Group work.
dumb.
I'm not part of a group.
Yep. And they're forcing us to. It's like in today's world, they've engineered it so the only way you can have a voice or a platform is if you join a group, because the individuals don't have a voice anymore.
No.
Thanks.
Because the guy who
No,
argued-
that's not true. People have individual channels and do their own thing. They don't join groups. We join groups to combine forces. We don't need to. We want to. And it has its benefits. Doesn't mean that we cannot do without it. There's plenty of flat earthers out there that just do their own thing. They don't join groups. They have their own channel.
A lot of
This
people
isn't a
using.
group. This is a bunch of. We're not part of some organization here, and you're the one arguing from authority and official sources and things like that. So if anyone's part of a group, it's you.
You.
No, I'm a lone wolf badass.
Oh, right. Yes, the lone wolf of established.
You are a lone wolf.
I mean, if you're gonna call me establishment, that's ridiculous, dude.
I
Because
think you're probably very lonely wolf, but
You do realize you came on here to argue all the establishment points. You realize that?
Not really.
P. Mars is just establishment when it comes to the globe and flat Earth. He's not very establishment concerning 9/11 and all that stuff. He's just a real indoctrinated glober. So
I think education is indoctrination, and that people are brainwashed and under mind
yeah,
control.
well, the globe is
Don't worry
part
about
of that. So
So
that's why
very young age.
education is indoctrination,
That's why I
but
think-
everything we're taught about the globe is fact. That's correct.
I think that what you're finding with flat earthers is that we're just realistically minded people who are trying to find the truth about what's going on with the shape of the Earth.
I think the fact that people believe they live on a sphere without being able to justify it is a good example of modern credulity, and that people are even more gullible today than they were during the Middle Ages because of advanced forms of mind control techniques and propaganda. And scientists have been studying us and behavioralism and all that. So we're more foolish. We're more foolish and ignorant now than we have been at any point in history, in my opinion.
You can speak for yourself. I would say in general that that's true.
So I think
there's knowledge we've lost. There's knowledge we've gained.
And I would say, P. Mars, you're just another gullible, retarded idiot. And I think the Illuminati has fun playing mind games with morons like you. Kind of like shooting fish in a barrel.
I think Flat Earth has a couple decent points in that the globe arguments are not the best. So I can understand why people are
Which arguments are not the best?
Well, I don't
which
know.
Ones do you which ones do you have a problem with?
I don't really have a problem with them. I'm just admitting that I can understand why you don't believe them. I'm just saying I can see where you're coming from.
But,
I don't.
All right, so you say on one hand you say you can see where we're coming from, but then you say we're ridiculous for
because
just being flat earthers. I don't.
No, I don't think you're ridiculous for being a flat earther. I think you're ridiculous. When someone like Nummy Num here tries to argue that we can't bounce radio waves off the moon, that stuff is ridiculous. When you're just denying things that we know are true.
No, he was just skeptical that it is real.
That's the only problem I have. Is once you get the evidence and once you find the answers, then you should go from there. You shouldn't be denying.
Okay, so we didn't get it, and you got some story from somebody. You didn't actually do it yourself either.
This panel denies.
You didn't have any proof.
You didn't.
Where did you get the information from? Authority figure? Or where did you get the information from? You should be able to do things and test things for yourself in order to make sure it's right. It should be repeatable. I mean, I don't see where you're arguing from.
Yeah, I think there are things you can do to test that are repeatable that will show that we live on a sphere.
Yeah, but you don't actually do them yourself, so you're just
no. I don't. You don't have to do everything yourself. Why this idea that you have to do everything yourself or you can't speak on it is.
You can speak on it, but you can't claim it to be absolutely fact unless you actually did it yourself.
When it has been done once because somebody authority in the past did it, it's a fact, but it hasn't been repeated again and again. That's what the issue is.
I mean, it has been repeated. That's the thing. That I'd fact check, right? And when I watch a flat Earth video and it says something like the Cavendish experiment hasn't been repeated, and then I fact check it and I find out it has been repeated, why do the flat earthers have to lie about that? Why can't they just be honest? If you can just present the facts and then have your flat Earth, that's cool. But every time I watch a flat Earth video, it's full of things that are trying to manipulate me into thinking the Earth is flat when they don't. Why don't they just
wrong?
Why do you have to manipulate me to think the Earth is flat? Why can't you just present the evidence of the flat Earth? I don't understand what the manipulation is.
Somebody's a flat earther that they can't be wrong about something.
No,
Yeah,
but
why
they're
does it have to be
manipulative.
automatic
It's
manipulation?
because
What if the source that you checked is wrong? How do you know that that source isn't wrong?
The Cavendish experiment doesn't
when
establish.
you tell me that the Earth spins 1,000 miles an hour and not once per day, that's manipulative because you're trying to make it sound faster than it is. You're trying to manipulate.
Yeah, but we don't
using
believe the Earth is
numbers. You're trying to
spinning.
use numbers and math to
We
manipulate me.
don't
Something you
believe the
accuse the
Earth.
globe of, right? Like, why are you doing the same thing you accuse the globe
Hey.
of? You're supposed to be against using math to
Not
manipulate.
the Cavendish
Yeah, but
the Cavendish experiment does not demonstrate the shape of the Earth.
No, it
T-Mars,
doesn't. It
we're
demonstrates
not the
gravity.
ones.
No, it doesn't
T-Mars.
demonstrate gravity either. We already
It
talked
does.
about
It
so-
demonstrates gravity, and if
Okay,
gravity,
like
you
how
have to disbelieve in gravity to believe in the flat Earth because
Okay, how does-
gravity does
how-
not
how does
work
the
with the flat
Cavendish-
Earth.
Explain how the Cavendish experiment demonstrates gravity, please.
He doesn't know the
It
facets.
shows
He
mass
cannot
attraction.
enumerate.
On a torsion, to put weights on a torsion balance, and they're attracted to each other.
Yeah,
So
but
there's a force that attracts mass. Is a force you can measure. The Cavendish experiment.
So how are you eliminating all of the possible variables?
There's
Such
ways
as
to do it.
gravity of
There's
the
ways
Earth.
to do it, Nami.
How do you do it?
You should know that.
Yeah, how do you do it?
How are you
Fact-
eliminating the gravity of the Earth?
Explain it. Please
The
explain.
torsion balance eliminates the gravity of the Earth.
How does it do that?
Come on, dude. Go
No, I'm
fact
just
check
curious.
it.
Come
Go
on, dude.
fact check
Don't
that
ask me
thing.
hard questions. Don't ask me questions where I have to have the answer. Come on, dude.
Look, if you wanna keep asking me questions till I can't answer it, like I'm not sitting here like I know everything. So I mean, you guys are trying to one up me,
it's
and
that-
get
it's-
me. You're trying to get me to make me look
Nobody's-
bad. But
nobody's
he
trying to
can't
get you,
answer a
man.
question. Look,
You're
he
doing
looks
a good
bad.
job of that on your own, man.
Yeah, bro, you're getting
You
yourself.
guys are trying really hard to make me look bad and make me like
No, we're
find a
not
question
trying
that I
No,
can't
we're trying
answer.
to get some answers out
You're
of
trying
you.
to
and
one
you're
up
not
me.
answering.
No, you're not. You're not trying to have a conversation. You're trying to one up me. You're trying to
just-
look cool in front of an audience. This
No,
isn't
you-
about knowledge. This is about like public, trying to look good in public. This isn't even about science.
No, you just Google things and then post it like you knew it.
Yeah.
So when
Says
I
the
first
guy
looked into
quoting Wikipedia earlier.
Okay, so when I first looked up Cavendish and read the article that described how Cavendish originally did his experiment, I also saw in the feed a scientific repetition of the experiment in a classroom. Guess what? It wasn't to scale. It wasn't in the exact same environment that Cavendish did it. That's not repeatable. It wasn't the same. So my question to you is, what article did you read that showed that the Cavendish experiment was repeated in the exact same environment with the exact same variables considered and removed? Because
Alan.
that's what you have to have.
By your definition, you'd have to create a time machine and go back in time and then set up the experiment
Now
at the
you just
exact
sound
same
silly.
time. No, that's what
Now
he
you-
sounds like.
No,
I mean, that's
now
how
you sound
silly a
silly.
statement that guy made.
You're
Silly.
saying you can only recreate that experiment
That's what
if you go
that
back
guy
in time.
said. That's what that guy said, not me. That's what he said.
Mars just thinks it's some kind of
Pointing out
fun.
how silly that guy is.
Mars
You're
just
almost
silly,
as
silly
ridiculous as
person.
Dawn, man.
That's what he
You
said. He's
guys-
like,
you guys-
it's like you can't repeat it unless you build a time machine and go back in time, and then
You're the one
exactly
that's saying
everything
that.
is the same.
He didn't
That's
say
what he
anything
said.
about
I
a
didn't say
time
that.
machine.
He said that.
No,
He didn't say
You're
anything
the
about
one
a
that's
time
saying
machine, man.
No,
Come
he
on.
said that. I didn't
No.
say that. That's what
Yeah,
he
you,
said.
You did. No, didn't.
Look, can we just
No.
establish, right, whether or not we need a time machine? I want to put this to bed.
According to this guy, you can't repeat an experiment unless you go back in time
He
and do
just
it
said
exactly
that
the same.
you would have to repeat the same variables, the same scenario. He didn't say
Yes.
anything about
You don't
going
have to-
back in
you-
time. You're
You don't have
just
to have the
ridiculous,
same
man.
variables. You change variables, and you also change things so you can falsify your experiments.
You just think it's some kind of fun game to interfere with intelligent people's conversations.
Where are the
Yeah,
intelligent?
that's what I'm starting to think. I don't
Where's
think
the
you
intelligent-
have this level of intelligence, man.
Juvenile behavior,
Okay.
like most of the retarded trolls that infest.
I'm
this-
not intelligent enough for flat Earth.
No, I think you are more
You're not
intelligent.
acting like it.
I think you're
You're
more
not acting like it, man.
but you just think it's some kind of You just think it's some kind of silly game to interfere with.
This is obviously a game since you're denying evidence and you're
come
just
on
trying
here
to
and say,
look
"Oh,
cool
we're
and get me in
attacking
a
you.
gotcha and get one up me all the time.
We're
It's
attacking
about
you.
one
We're
upping
trying to
me. It's
make
not
it."
about learning. It's obvious.
Boy, your boys are here.
Yeah, how do you know it's not your boy?
It's not my boy.
Your boy.
Sorry.
Was your boys? Huh? What you gonna do to this little kid, huh?
So Nathan, how long is this hangout gonna continue?
10
Is
minutes.
there gonna not be a break?
10 minutes.
There's
We've already had a
already
break.
Sorry?
We've
We
already had a
spent
break.
all
It's
this
about 10
time with
minutes.
PMARS and this ridiculous conversation.
What's the occult significance of 10 Downing Street?
I actually wanted to talk about the moon some more, but
Yeah. Well, he's succeeded in his mission to just obfuscate the conversation and.
Yeah, right. I gave you guys a good show. This has been entertaining.
this
thanks
is what
to
you
me.
think is a good
Y'all
show.
should pay me money for this.
You have way
Negative.
too much time on your hands.
Y'all should be paying me to be here.
You have way too
I'm the
much.
most entertaining person on this panel by far.
Don't they have isn't there some kind of community center in your town or something where you can waste your time doing something else?
I'd rather pay you to stay off the show, actually.
Yeah, if I'm not here,
Oh, good. God, that guy's just really obnoxious.
Where's
Hey,
Pete
Alan,
gone?
you're in
Did he
here.
drop?
That almost hurts the brain to have
It's
conversations like that.
entertaining though.
Is
He
it? I
dropped.
don't.
Not really. After a while, it's
I wonder what happened to P. He just seems to have gone already. Oh well, that's a shame. Did he drop of his own volition, or did someone actually kick him out? Anybody? Anybody got any idea what happened to P?
Did he rage quit?
Rage quit. Oh, that's a shame. He was doing quite well. Considering there was like at some points 10 people on the panel, I thought he did quite well.
Really?
Well, yeah,
Okay.
he's
Quite
digging out
well wasting
sources
our
and batting
time.
off arguments. you know,
yeah, he did that well.
It's just
obfuscating well.
Just has no interest in learning anything.
I don't know. The
armchair.
contradictions that some of the bowlers have within even their own arguments sometimes just confuse me. I mean, this is a guy who will say, "Oh, I don't believe this, I don't believe that," but then he believes the official story of everything. I don't.
Yeah, you just repeat stuff from
Well,
Google.
at least with the globe stuff.
Just parroting Google.
I don't know.
Endlessly ad nauseum. And he's a very dull, boring blabberer, I would say. Repeat it, repeat it, repeat it.
Ask him to just Google 9/11 and tell us what happened, see if he does it.
He's a selective Wikipedian. He selects what
Wikipedian?
then accepts it.
I think he's an utterly retarded, useless idiot with the intelligence of a slug.
Nah. No, he's just very,
I
very
mean,
indoctrinated.
It was almost like the same conversation I was having with Dawn yesterday about how it works on a sphere. And it's like, where do you guys, like Dawn doesn't see that there should be a curve on the x-axis? I don't, it's a sphere. Like, I don't get where they get their, I don't know, the cognitive dissonance is just strong.
And they just say that it's fact. It's just fact. That's just the way it is.
It's just fact.
Not gonna be
And he's straight up saying Nathan is lying about it. Like, it's not a lie, bro. Like, if you're on a sphere, everything should curve away from you in every direction. That's what a ball is. He doesn't know what a ball is.
Do you understand scale?
Oh, the great scale equivocator.
Yes, please. I do understand scale.
Alan, please explain how centrifugal force is diminished simply because the scale is so ginormously huge. Please explain that to us, please.
I think you need to take some physics lessons first.
Well, no, if it's that easy, you can just, describe to us how it is that centrifugal force diminishes by scale.
I think anything I tell you, you just ignore anyway and say it's wrong. You
No, I don't want
notice
to.
that.
I don't want to be that childish. I will listen to everything that comes out of your sultry mouth.
Insults already, eh?
No, I enjoy listening to you speak. I think it's very
Alan,
soothing.
how would scale prevent somebody on a sphere from seeing the curve towards the horizon, but not being able to see the curve from left to right?
So you think you could see it curve left to right, do you?
Yeah, so
I
do
think if I see
Metabunk.
the curve the other way, I should see it that way.
So do Metabunk. You realise that, right, Alan?
is a ball.
That Metabunk believe that too, that your holy calculator has it in there? You realise
How
that,
wide's
right?
your vision? How wide's your vision?
Sorry, Alan, do you want to address what I've just said to you?
No,
So
I
do
don't.
Metabunk.
I'm not talking to you.
Oh
Go
well,
away.
I'll just address the audience and shut you right up then. Metabunk also say that you should see x-axis curvature and it should be calculable. That's why it's in the calculator, Alan. So you trying to assert now that scale means you shouldn't see x-axis curvature? Maybe get in touch with Mick West and tell him that it shouldn't be in his calculator, because it is.
Do you understand topology?
Yeah.
So how does
So what about that curve then,
topology,
Alan? The one that Metabunk think
yeah.
we should see, but don't?
Sorry, Nathan, I'm eating an ice cream.
All right, well, I'll just reassert it again. So we don't see any x-axis curvature despite the fact that Metabunk, the holy calculator for globe heads, says we should, and it should be calculable. Something that Alan has come on and told us we shouldn't because of scale. Complete and utter nonsense. Now he's eating an ice cream, though.
Well, no, it's interesting that Pete's gone and then Alan shows up. That's interesting.
So, Alan, you're going to reassert that we shouldn't have x-axis curvature, defying Mick West?
Still eating an ice cream.
Seems so.
What ice cream is it?
99.
Well, that was a
Very
short
crispy
conversation
ice
about
cream
the
you're
curve we
eating
don't see.
I'll wait for you to finish your ice cream so that you can explain how we don't see that curve.
It might take a while.
Yeah, he's eating shit and calling it ice cream.
Is he at the start of the ice cream or at the end?
So just going to read out M. Scott Veach's comment, just for Alan's benefit. Contradicting himself, but nevertheless, at Nathan Oakley, Metabunk does not say that, silly. They say it's measurable in a variety of ways. So it's measurable in a variety of ways. So therefore it exists and is measurable in a variety of ways.
There's no justice in this world.
Thanks, M. Scott Veach. Massive shout out. Perfect timing. Absolutely brilliant, my friend.
That explains it.
Right,
Yeah.
correct. Yes, M. Scott Veach. So we should have x-axis curvature then. Not a scale problem at all, as Alan's asserted. It should be there, it just never is. Got Dawn the dickhead arguing that we never see it, and that's perfectly normal on a sphere. No, idiots. Is that the best you've got, Alan? To just laugh?
Yeah.
I think it is.
I don't mind this protracted silence. It's fine by me.
I don't. This ice cream's delicious.
I don't know. This all feels like a giant admission of defeat.
Yeah,
Sure
all
does.
of this.
That's how I see it.
Mars, Alan, you're all basically admitting defeat.
Says the man who lives alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, just ad homs.
What does that have to do
That's
with
all
anything?
you've got. You've come on and asserted that there's a scale issue and we shouldn't see x-axis curvature. Don't you understand scale? And then son of an astronaut M. Scott Veach completely contradicts you, as does Mick West. And all you can do is laugh and criticise Arwen's living arrangements. It is unbelievably pathetic, Alan.
Kind of is, yeah.
Right, I guess that's probably the best part to round out my show. Unbelievable. Crap from Alan, crap from P. Mars, crap from Ballers. This is what we get on this show at the moment. The worst scum, lowest of the low, crap argument delivering people from the globe side. And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully for sharing this debate. If you hated this show, you know what to do. But if you like the show, be sure to subscribe, maybe. Share the show, maybe. Like, maybe. I've been Nathan Oakley. Oh, also a massive thank you to all of the debating panel, of course, for making the debate possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!